I was going to change my view of the process anyway, because the process that I know or have studied is not working for me. So I want to do something slightly different. I think my biggest challenge is to try to get the parts, like the hands and everything, where they should be in relation to the whole body. And that's a bit of a challenge. And a lot of action is going up here, and I'm hoping that I can bring the light in the bottom and sort of push it up into the top. Is it going to anchor properly? Is the light going to come through? And I'm building everything slowly. If you're doing anything in the arts, like drawing or painting, that's not considered outstanding in any form. That's more like you can't do anything else, but you are sort of good in art, so why don't you pursue some art? It's kind of like you can run, so why don't you run? That type of stuff. It's more like a negative than a positive. And I wasn't doing well in most anything else. And not to say that I was doing well in the arts, I just could do it better than other things. So everything else was more like that this person isn't all that academically inclined, all that bright, all that smart. She can go to art school. I'd never been educated into it or had any understanding that art and artists are of a different kind of intelligence that is quite powerful in its own right. So I didn't know that. I really actually thought I was going to be a potter, so I did pottery for a good 4 years of schooling of NASCAD. Pottery was one of my major courses that I took there, as well as art education and other courses, metalwork as well. I worked in Fredericton for a while, and then for a year, and then I came back to Toronto, and I just knew that pottery wasn't going to be it. So I really started to focus on the metalwork, and it was the pottery that pushed the metal into 3D. Were given the impression as a child that you could pretty well do most of everything you wanted to do if you wanted to do it. Certainly, being a woman was on your resume was akin to not having a degree. You sort of started lower on the ladder than a guy who was an artist. And it was kind of an intriguing position to find yourself in. Not getting ahead because you're a woman takes a long time to decide that that is some of the issue. You got to go through a whole bunch of other stuff like you're not good enough. And to accept the fact that, what do you mean you're not hiring me or not doing it because I'm a woman? I don't get that. Why? Why would you be doing that? So it takes a long time to figure that one out. People don't necessarily start from a point of downwardness. You don't start there. You might come to a point where you're going, hey, wait a second, why is all of that happening? And I'm working as hard as I can. I'm getting nowhere. Why is that happening? But you don't start there. You go forward. When I was doing the one of a kind, you invest a whole bunch of money into the 10-day time frame that you're going to be somewhere, 5 or 10 days, selling your work, and it's a make or break. It has that better to make bread and butter things rather than to make things that in your limits. So, and it's a lot more when you're younger and you've got kids and they've got to be picked up and they've got to be delivered and they've got to have this has to be done and that has to be done. Or you have to you have to go to work and then you have to come home and then you got to do 50 things before you supposedly have the strength to go down in the studio. That was all very difficult. When I realized that things had to change for me and that it was actually giving up my career as well. in a lot of ways. I didn't stop doing what I was doing because I can't stop artwork. I can't stop. It's probably where I started to change more to painting and drawing, but I can't change that. That carried on. I knew that I needed to have a little bit more solid money coming in, so I came to Kingston to figure that one out. I got a job teaching art in the prison for a month, and that's when I made a decision to jump ship and move. But the hardest part was realizing or accepting that I wasn't going to be able to be the starving artist, Canadian artist of the level I was at. I was totally on my own with 2 children, and I was not going to be able to support my 2 children and manage the stress level of trying to support on a hit and miss artist income, because I couldn't expect to have any financial aid for the kids or for me. And I would have gotten quite ill if I tried to pursue with the stress level. It would have been too much. Doubting yourself is a real problem, and I'm working as hard as I can not to doubt myself, but to actually embrace what I'm trying to do. And I'm remembering what it was like when I was making metalwork. And it was at a time where we couldn't just go to there wasn't any computer. We couldn't just look something up. We had to beg somebody to show us something or to teach us something. And half the time we never could get what we needed. And you had a drive based on, or I had a drive based on wanting to do something that was even hard to explain. But I remember doing it because I was driven to do it. So I'm approaching this painting in the same way, because I have in my mind something I want. All the other stuff I have to dampen right down. There's pressure. I mean, if there's pressure in getting it done in time, there's pressure, and is it going to be any good? There's pressure. All of those things are there. But in terms of doing it, I just have to thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing and what's happening. I have to get involved in what's happening. The dance of color across here, I'm excited about this. It's doing what I want it to do. It's doing what I should be doing right now at this stage. Painting could be a pivot point. I don't know. I'm forcing myself to look at things differently and see what I can come up with. So the biggest challenge is to suspend time and just let it mature. Because if I think about all the other things, the other parts to it, that bogs you down, and then you end up not being able to do anything. I just have to really just say, at the end of the day, have I gotten to a good point? Move on to the next day and not worry about deadlines.